So, you know video games, right? The things you play, and you know the icebergs, you know the things that crashed the Titanic and caused mass hysteria? Well, put them together, and what do you get? Video game icebergs. Well, obviously there are more icebergs like shows, movies, etc. But I'm gonna do one on Punch Out because I've been on a little bit of a boxing kick. So, let's do it. So, first things first. A video game iceberg is a graph used to show how well facts are known about a specific kind of media. You know, there are different layers of the iceberg, like tip of the iceberg, middle of the iceberg, bottom of the iceberg, dark water, the abyss. You know, the stuff. Let's go. Ethnic stereotypes. We all know that Punch Out is pretty racist. Especially the early ones, because, come on, pizza pasta is the perfect incarnation of that. We all know this because of, also, this game was made in 1983, a time where racism was much more tolerated. Meaning you could get away with it a lot more than you do now. And that made Punch Out one of the, a little bit of a controversial game. So, yeah, next one. Little Mac. I think we all know who Little Mac is if you know Punch Out. He's the underdog character, you know, the player character in Punch Out. You know, he's a 5'7" boxer fighting out of the Bronx. Working his way up from minor circuit fights to world circuit fights. You know, classic underdog story. He's the protagonist of the Punch Out franchise. You know, if you're not a theorist about Punch Out. But yeah, I think we all know who Little Mac is, yeah. Next. Mario referee. For the unaware, Mario is the referee in Punch Out for the NES, as the developer snuck in there without Shigeru Miyamoto's permission. I think they're gonna get a little bit of flack for that from Shigeru Miyamoto. But yeah, there's not much to say here. Mario's the referee, and the developers quoted that he drew a slightly strange-looking Mario, which, I'm gonna be honest, he kinda did. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, we all remember trying to fight Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch Out if you've played it. He's on the title, he's on the package art, he's star of the first bullet point, and his signature is on the box. Not to mention, you know, he's in the game as the final boss. He is possibly one of the hardest retro bosses ever to beat. It requires a special type of person to beat Mike Tyson. More, you know, you have to have cheats on, which is how I beat Mike Tyson. Or sorry, Mr. Dream, which we'll be getting to in a little bit. Basically, Mike Tyson was the center focus of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I mean, need I say more? Mr. Dream. Mr. Dream sucks! Or let me be more specific. Mr. Dream is not as good as Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson is the only one who can have Mr. Dream's fighting style, because he's the original Mr. Dream. Mr. Dream is just a recolor of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had his fighting style in real life planted into the game. But Mr. Dream, is he just a carbon copy of Mike Tyson? Yes. Yes, he is. That's all he is. Well, to me. I'm sure there are some people who like Mr. Dream, so I'm sorry if I offended them. Moving on. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I move on, I should probably discuss his backstory. Mike Tyson's deal with Nintendo ran out, so they had to make a new character, Stat. So they came up with Mr. Dream. And it just shows that they didn't put much thought into him. They opened whatever they used to make their characters, which is Actually pretty hard, but it must have been pretty easy. Or like easier than all of the characters before. They just make new sprite colors. I'm all done now. Where's my raise? But I still salute them for trying to make a character that replaces Mike Tyson. Because I sure as heck couldn't do it either. Anyway, moving on. Special Circuit. The Special Circuit is just a new circuit introduced in Super Punch Out for the SNES. It isn't in any other Punch Out game, which is a huge bummer because I wanted to see it in Punch Out Wii, even though, you know, Punch Out Wii came out 1 year before I was born, but let's not worry about that. I really want to see this game, or this circuit in a new Punch Out game. The Special Circuit includes characters that also haven't been introduced in a new Punch Out game, such as Narcissus Prince, Hoy Quarlo. Hoy Quarlo is one of the best characters in Punch Out. Rick Bruiser, he's also pretty great. And Nick Bruiser, the final opponent of Super Punch Out. This is the final circuit of Super Punch Out, actually. So, yeah, there's not much to say here other than it's a special circuit. Star Punch. I think we all know what a Star Punch is. It's Little Mac's signature move. Oh, and also it's Doc Lewis's signature move, according to him. It's an uppercut where if you have stars, which you get from punching your opponents right in their weak spot during their attacks, or just during their sweet spots open, then you'll always be granted a star. And when you get those stars, you unleash your most devastating punch ever, the Star Punch. Star Punches are amazing. They're Mac's signature move. They're a staple of just Punch Out history. It's an amazing move. Anyway, moving on. Knockout Punch. The Knockout Punch is basically the same as the Star Punch, but not as good. I mean, it came before the Star Punch, but it doesn't really have as good of gameplay mechanic as the Star Punch. I don't know, you just rack up punches until you finally get the KO meter. Yes, that's actually what it's called, up. And then you release the Knockout Punch. That's it. Did you have fun? Well, kind of. It's basically just the same as the Star Punch. Anyway, moving on. Vodka Drunkanski. Yeah, Vodka Drunkanski. I'm pretty sure you can guess what nationality this guy is just by the name. This was changed to Soda Popinski in the later games due to them, or Nintendo, sorry, gotta be more specific, not wanting to break their family-friendly norm and risk getting the game, like, you know, banned. Oh, and also they didn't want to be as stereotypical in the next games. They just wanted to be a tad more social, like, you know, culturally sensitive in the next games. But they just changed it from alcohol to soda. Not really, you know, changing it that much, but still making it a little bit more family friendly. Still a little bit insensitive, though. Oh, and also, the Soviet Union probably didn't approve of that back then, too, because, you know, they weren't exactly looked upon with smiles back in the day, even though I was born in 2010, so I never experienced the Cold War, so I wouldn't know what it felt like, but yeah, they didn't really want to peeve the Soviet Union either. Anyway, moving on. Gigamac. Gigamac is a part of head-to-head mode in Punch Out Wii, where if a player fills up their Gigamac juice health bar they will transform into Gigamac, and he's a larger Little Mac that's much stronger, and is basically a monster. Anyway, there's not much to say here other than, yeah, it's Gigamac. It's just a monster Little Mac. Oh yeah, and also it can de-transform in a little bit. Head-to-head mode. Head-to-head mode is like a 2-player Punch-Out. Actually, it is just a 2-player Punch-Out. Why can't you play as the other characters, Nintendo? I want to play as Aaron Ryan. Aaron Ryan for the win. But anyway, Gigamac comes from head-to-head mode, and there's not much to say. Other than Mac has new moves. In head-to-head mode. And it's a 2-player Punch-Out. And Gigamac. Anyway, moving on. Famicom Gold Cartridge. The Famicom Gold Cartridge was like a beta version of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It didn't even have Mike Tyson. It just had Super Macho Man as the final boss. Insert release the bogus here. It was sold at a Mario Golf tournament for the winners. And when they got a hold of these special cartridges, they loved it and asked if it was going to get a retail release. So it did with Mike Tyson. And the consumers loved it. It could not stay on the shelves for long. A mother even complained that they could not find Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You know, Punch-Out was a huge success for obvious reasons, because, you know, it's a pretty good game. Anyway, moving on. Oh wait, hold on. Famicom Gold Cartridge was basically just a gold cartridge, but with Bud Bowl on the cartridge. And it was gold. Anyway, moving on. Donkey Kong cameo and Punch Out Wii. Yes, you heard that right. Donkey Kong cameo in Punch Out Wii. No, you did not hear that wrong. That is a legitimate thing that I am not making up.
So how do you get to Donkey Kong, Aiden?
Well, it's surprisingly simple. First, you just have to beat the whole game, including title defense mode in Punch Out Wii. This will make sure that you find Mac's retirement plan. Yes, Mac's retirement plan. Where he will lose to 3 people. Once he loses to 3 people, then he'll retire. And out of these infinite people that you fight waiting for you to lose 3 times, there's a random chance that you can fight Donkey Kong out of these people. Oh, and also it's called Mac's Last Stand. So yeah. You can fight Donkey Kong during Mac's Last Stand. And if you encounter him, you will lose to him automatically. Well, unless you've watched all of the videos and somehow prepared for this. You will not be prepared, though, because, you know, he's just a random fighter that you haven't fought yet. He's the hardest fight in the game, by the way. Harder than Mr. Sandman in title defense. Let's go over his moves. He slams you into the ground with his fists. He slams the side of his fist into your head. He jumps off the ropes and then smashes you into the ground. And taunts you all throughout the fight. Oh, and did I mention that he throws punches in bunches? Which basically means the closer you are to defeat, the more punches he'll throw in a single chain. Wow, that's what I call good developing. So, if you're gonna win, get ready for a lot of studying and exhibition fights. Moving on. Champions Mode. Champions Mode also has something to do with Mac's Last Stand. I know a lot of things have to do with Mac's Last Stand. So, how do you get to Champions Mode? Well, simple, again. So you have to beat the entire game again, get to Mac's Last Stand, and then beat 3 people. This will give you the option to play in Champions Mode in Exhibition Mode. What Champions Mode does is sorry, I paused too early. if you turn on champions mode for a fight, it'll make it so if you get hit with one punch from your opponent, then you're going down. One punch knockdown. You know, other than Aaron Ryan's last-ditch attack. So yeah, hence the name Champions Mode. Not a lot to talk about here. Moving on. Save codes. You can continue the game using save codes in the menu. By pressing continue, it'll show you a grid where if you type in the correct numbers, it'll take you to title bout to one of the circuits in the game or Mike Tyson. They're the way of continuing your game by continuing the game from finding the codes in the newspapers to finding it when you're jogging in between circuits. And yeah, I probably should have put this at the middle of the iceberg. To my knowledge, they're the only cheat codes in Punch Out that are fully endorsed by Nintendo. You know, since you can't save in you can't save on the NES. There are no save states on the NES because the hardware at the time was pretty limited. Anyway, moving on. Now this section's gonna be pretty short. The Dark Waters section is gonna be pretty short. So, bear with me here. I couldn't find a lot of things. Super Punch Out sound test. So, sound tests are basically, when a video game has, like, a menu where you can listen to all the sounds, look at all the unused content, I'm not sure that's what it does. I have never fooled around with a sound test menu before, so, I don't really know. Anyway, the Super Punch Out sound test is where you can listen to all the music in the game, all that. Well, I wouldn't know because it's, like, unused, and we don't have a whole idea on what it would be like, but who knows, it could have been really cool, and maybe it is in the game. Dang, I'm gonna have to check that out after this video. Power Punch 2. Power Punch 2 is a spin-off Punch Out game that was originally intended to be a sequel to NES Punch Out due to the massive success. But there was one minor problem. The game was originally supposed to star Mike Tyson, but during that time, Mike Tyson had also been accused of sexual assault. I'm not sure if I can say that on YouTube, but I am. So they had to scrap Mike Tyson being in the game. So they made a new character called Mark Tyler, who definitely isn't really close to Mike Tyson, no. And the game was dubbed Power Punch 2, which confused people because there was no Power Punch 1. But the beta with Mike Tyson was Power Punch 1. Doesn't that make sense? No! We're already done with Dark Waters, by the way. The arcade Punch-Out was first released at a tournament. So yeah, for the unaware, the arcade Punch-Out was first released at a tournament for the game. It wasn't sold, at the arcade for people to play, sold to the arcade person. No. This game was beta tested at a tournament where people would sign up and try to get the high score. Man, Nintendo just really likes beta testing things at tournaments, don't they? Anyway, the arcade Punch-Out was released at a tournament where they rented a real boxer, I forgot his name, to endorse the tournament and be there to congratulate the person who won. And whoever won, I think they got one of the cabinets, but I'm not sure. So yeah, it was sold at a tournament. Moving on. Glass Joe won to Nick Bruiser. Yes, you heard me right. Nick Bruiser was Glass Joe's one win, according to a developer on Super Punch Out. Somebody asked what Glass Joe's one win was, and one of the developers said it was against Nick Bruiser by a freak accident. So, Glass Joe might not be as bad as you think. You know, other than being horrible at boxing, so yeah. He might not be as bad at boxing as you think. And also, as I said before, Nick Bruiser is the final boss of Super Punch Out. Glass Joe's boxing school. Sorry, I paused at the wrong time again. Yeah, you heard me right again. Glass Joe's boxing school. Glass Joe's boxing school is a boxing school, but not any boxing school. A boxing school taught by Glass Joe. And who attended at this school? Well, it's none other than Gabby J, the first opponent you fight in Super Punch Out for the SNES. He's 56 years old, from Paris, just like Glass Joe. His record is 1-99, just like Glass Joe, kind of making me feel like he's making other people bad at boxing too. And says he forgot how winning feels like. Wow, isn't that just sad? If he can teach a boxing school, then I can. I'm not actually going to teach one, so no. Super Punch Out anti-piracy screen. Did I say Super Punch Out anti-piracy screen yet? Super Punch Out anti-piracy screen. Yeah, there's been this thing going around called anti-piracy screens where, well, there's screens in video games that prevent piracy and don't allow you to play the game normally. Most of them are fake, just like the original one itself, but this one is actually real. Yes, finally, an anti-piracy screen that is actually real. The screen says, please switch power off. This product will not operate when connected to a device which makes unauthorized copies. Please refer to your instruction booklet for further information. Yes, a finally real anti-piracy screen. Wow. Frank Bruno's boxing. Finally, we have the most obscure Punch-Out media ever. Frank Bruno's boxing. Well, I could call it Punch-Out related media. Because this game was not endorsed at all by Nintendo. It's basically a ripoff before ripoffs were invented. Well, I mean, they were still invented at the time, but it's like a primitive bootleg. Anyway, Frank Bruno's boxing is your standard run-of-the-mill bootleg. They just use all of the characters, basically, other than, you know, Bear Hugger being named Canadian Crusher, Dragon Chan being named Fling Long Chop, and Soda Popinski or Vodka Drunkanski being named Andra Puncheradov. And the gameplay is basically just the same as Punch Out. You know, the knockout meter, knockout punch. The entire gameplay was just a carbon copy of Punch Out, basically. Whew, we made it to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe, and if you want to see more videos like this, do that. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, and also, so sorry this video, this iceberg was very short. And also, Cohen's playing his guitar. So sorry this iceberg was very short. I couldn't find many Punch-Out facts, so please bear with me. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Later.
This is Night Terrors. This is Night Terrors.
Because I also don't have those.
Oh, frick, hello. Hello, Bon Bon. Bon Bon, go get him!
It's an old anime game
but
that is
it's
actually
not the best. No, it's
really good.
If you're watching this thing.